this is Walter Capps again from Southeast Missouri. We're going to do some more water Tai Chi. Tai Chi in general has been called the art of drawing circles. Of course you can say that circles create spirals, create vortices, they create spears. You could create figure eights, but we're talking about arcing, circular movement in general. So Tai Chi is the art of drawing circles. In the previous video we covered vertical circles in the vertical plane. The basic two directions. Now we're gonna use horizontal circles. So my feet are parallel. I'm going to put my hands out here, palms down, and I'm just going to draw some small circles. Note that my whole body is moving. It's not just my arms, not just my torso. My hips are moving, my legs are moving. My feet are moving. I'm shifting my weight slightly from one foot to the other as I draw a small circle. So now I'm going to loosen up and start drawing a bigger circle. Now I'm going to widen my stance a little bit and draw large circles in a certain direction. So I just changed directions for you. I could go back to maybe intermediate sized circles and to small circles. Just noting, paying attention to what's going on in my feet, what's going on in my legs, what's going on in my hips, what's going on in my spine. Notice that I'm still keeping, in general, the middle of the hips aligned with the middle of the shoulder area. It's like a box. You can draw a box here. I'm not torquing one way and over torquing another way. I'm still keeping these 4 points relatively aligned together. That's something we don't want to over twist one part of our spine and keep another part of our spine stagnant. We want our spine to move as a unit, particularly in this plane in general. The spine easily does a vertical movement that's quite complex. When we twist and turn, we're actually turning from the inside of the hip joint and we're keeping the spine together. We don't want to go into extreme spinal twists. When you're in that area, you're actually pretty vulnerable. Like if you're holding heavy weight, you generally want to hold heavy weight lined up with you. So we're keeping this kind of alignment when we do horizontal circles. That way we can express power in a very efficient movement. And we're also not doing damage on our spine. Our spine is really capable of holding a lot of weight and power in a vertical area. As soon as you start twisting the vertebrae, you can get into problems and damage your spine. And I know there's probably people who are in the circus or do all kinds of contortions, and they can kind of prove that maybe that's not true. But that's true for them because they're trained to do that. So for us, we want to stick with this idea of keeping the spine in alignment when we turn from side to side or we make these circles. So now I'll just let you see what it looks like from a from a side view. Small circles, opening and expanding, turning, coming into the center, expanding, coming into the center, expanding, coming into the center, making the circle smaller so I can transition into small circles. Noting all these little micro movements, feeling the pulsing of the joints, feeling the pulsing of my nerves, feeling that sense of alignment. Opening up, having maybe a little dance flavor to it, having fun with it, enjoying it. So I just changed directions. And I'm getting bigger again. Okay. So I can go large in that same direction, change directions. You can change directions any way you want to, but it's good sometimes to come into smaller circles and then hit a still point and then change directions. Okay, I'm going to show you an exercise from Chen Tai Chi where they use a kind of tornado circling energy vertically up and down. So you kind of start out like this, and then you sink. You can let your heels come up as you shift your weight a little bit. So you circle down, you come, and then you come up. So I'm just going to go through it. It's a somewhat difficult, advanced exercise. So you can do stuff like that. Don't overdo it. As soon as you start bending your knees, you're not used to it. Note that I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my knees. My knees are not moving a lot left or right. In general, our knee joints, like our elbow joints, are hinge joints. So it's okay to get the feet moving quite a bit, the hips moving, my arms and hands moving, but I don't want to overdo anything on my knees. I want to keep pressure off my knees. I want to transfer the pressure into the floor or from the floor up my body. So if I'm going down, I'm transferring it into the floor, and I'm coming up, I'm transferring it up into the sky. So from the heavens down to the earth, earth back to the heavens. So that's kind of an advanced exercise, but that's where Chen style gets a lot of its tornado power, the circling, figure eight power. I like Chen style quite a bit. It's an advanced style. It's got a lot of flavor to it. Just wanted to show that to you. I'm going to show a little more Chen style in the next video when we do coronal circles. So let's get back to the smoother movements. So first we were feet parallel. Now we're just going to take a step out, a short, relatively short bow and arrow stance. And we're going to draw horizontal circles. And you can turn a little more in this position. Just turn from the hips, from the inguinal groove, from the inside of the hip joint. So we're not putting a lot of pressure on our knees, of course. This is smooth, continuous, soft like water. Water is very powerful in its liquid form, but it's also soft. So how can a soft thing be powerful? Well, if you go out in the ocean or you go in a river, you find that when the water is all connected up with each other and the flow generates a lot of energy, it is extremely powerful. A drop of water by itself is not particularly powerful in that sense. But if you accumulate, so if we accumulate all the fluids, all this watery flavor, and create a momentum, we're creating a powerful yet soft movement that's good for us. It's releasing our nerves. We're not getting into the no pain, no gain kind of paradigm that works for a lot of people in weightlifting or training for competitive sports and things like that. Save that for them, or if you choose to get involved in those activities. Change directions. We're not exhausting our nerves. We're not pushing our nervous system. What that often does is it creates a subtle resistance inside of us. We don't want to have subtle resistance. We don't want to have any resistance. We want to flow and move like a great river. So that's a different idea, a different theory. That's not what we're doing. We want to have no resistance. We want to have smooth, continuous, soft, subtle movements. We're not ballistically firing out, like karate is a very great style. It's very powerful, but they're known for this kind of stuff. That's not what we do. We're arcing and smoothing out our movements. So now I'm in this direction, and I can change in the other direction, and I can go into smaller movements, little micro movements, and feel the pulsing of the joints. Feel that kind of electric feeling. And then I can change directions into bigger circles. Okay, and now I can step out the other direction into a modified bow and arrow stance with some gap between your heels. You don't want your heels lined up and you're like on a teeter-totter. We want to have easy balance. So I'm doing a lot of talking, throwing out a lot of theory, because I want you to know that stuff. But basically, when you practice this and do these things, you might have some music on, or you might just listen to the quiet. I live out in a forest. It's nice and quiet. So you can then place your attention inside your body and deeply feel what's going on in your skeletal system, what's going on in your joints, what's going on in your guts and internal organs, what's going on with the skin, what's going on with the muscles, the tendons. We have layers of fascia. We're penetrating and permeating our tissues with our consciousness, with our awareness, and we're deeply feeling what's going on. That's the reason for the slow movement. This allows us to feel deeply what's going on, because there's time to feel and move our attention around to different parts of our body. There's procedures to do this, and I haven't gotten too deep into that yet. But right now, I just want you to enjoy this and just start experimenting with these circular movements. So I'm going to sink, turn a little bit from here, do a better job of that. And I'm going to go slower and move into small movements on the horizontal. Feeling that pulsing, feeling that aliveness, feeling the nerves relax and release, letting everything sink. And then noting that when I sink, there's still a rising energy that's balancing out that sinking energy. So I'm not collapsing, my structure is good and upright. But I'm relaxed, I'm not over rigid, overstimulated, I'm not in a sympathetic nerve response, I'm not in fight or flight. We're not doing that, we're not pushing our nerves, we're releasing and relaxing our nerves. We're re-educating our nervous system. Okay, I just changed direction, and I'm going to go a little bigger. Okay, so Yang style is a classic family style, and it's probably the most popular style of Tai Chi that you'll see today. And I'll do a few movements of it, and you'll see that there's a fair amount of horizontal circles in there. So every Tai Chi style has some version of this movement, Peng, Ji, Lu, On. This is how, they have slight variations of how this, and I'll go into detail in another video on this introductory movement, but I'm just going to show it a few times. So it's basically Peng is a rising energy, I'm absorbing, that's Lu. I'm G, that's pressing forward. I'm doing Lu again, absorbing, and then On is pressing downward. So I'm just going to do a version of that, and then I'm going to turn on the horizontal. And then I'm going to do a circular movement and another circular movement. Turning a lot horizontally, my hips and pelvis. So this is kind of a classic Yang style kind of flavor. I'll just go right into brush knee, where I'm turning left, turning right, brush the knee, press forward with the palm. That's another classic posture. Go into circular punch, relatively circular punch, into cross hands. So that's not a super formal way of doing Yang style, but it gives you the Yang style flavor. I'll do some Wu style, which is derived, they say, from Yang style. I practice a lot of this. It has a lot of vertical circles, which is just a slight vertical circle going on in the beginning movement, and also has horizontal circles. Bend the bow, shoot the arrow, bend the bow, shoot the arrow. Try to stay within the center of the camera here. Bending, stretching. Bend the bow, shoot the arrow. Bend the bow, shoot the arrow. So there's kind of a vertical action going on. And here. Punch. Bend the bow, shoot the arrow. Here's one to the side. It's like a bird crane movement. Tai Chi's got a lot of snake and crane movements. This is a crane movement. It's also stretching, opening my back, extending my back, giving my back a massage. Shoulder blades are moving. So hidden within those movements are a lot of small arcs, spirals, circles. There's vertical circles. There's horizontal circles. I didn't necessarily do a super diligent job of breaking all that down for you. I just want to give you a flavor. So you can, if you haven't seen much Tai Chi before, I want to show you that these forms are templates for where we're going in water Tai Chi. So I'm going to use some of these movements to put out the water Tai Chi principles. At a certain point, I could go through some specifics of the form or forms, and I probably will. But right now, I don't want to emphasize form work. Doing forms is a small part of Tai Chi, even though that's how it's taught in this country quite a bit. It's like you do a form, so you're doing Tai Chi. Well, actually, Tai Chi principles go back thousands of years into China. They don't only apply to martial arts. They apply to health, longevity, medicine, cooking. Tai Chi principles actually go into cosmology, where like a dark star is condensed, and then when it explodes from the black hole, the universe was created. So that they have like a metaphysical and cosmology where the universe is constantly expanding and contracting, which is what we do when we bend and stretch. That's what when we bend our spine and expand our spine. Our cells are constantly expanding and condensing. Our blood vessels, our tissues, everything in the universe is actually expanding and condensing. It's pulsing, throbbing, opening, condensing, opening and integrating. So it's actually a very deep concept, and it goes very, very deep in their philosophy of yin changing to yang, yang changing back to yin. So that's all embedded in there. So I have writings, and I'll probably get them out so I can actually, because I'm not the world's greatest public speaker. So I can talk about these things a lot clearer in the context of writings. Some from my teachers, some I've written myself. I've written quite a few things. In school, I was mainly a writer. I didn't really talk all that much. I studied mathematics and English primarily. So I'm going to get to that, the deeper aspects, but right now I just want to get you some tools, get you started. So we just did vertical circles. We just did some horizontal circles. We did it in this feet parallel stance. We did it with a mild bow and arrow, where you step out, or if you want to step back and get into it, it makes no difference. And we did those two circular planes of motion. Next one's going to be a coronal circle, as if there's a clock and you're kind of going around the clock in this plane. Coronal means in Latin refers to your crown. So you're going from crown to feet, back up to the crown. That's where that term comes from. Okay. I'm gonna move to the next one. Hope you're enjoying this. Like, I'm kind of a what you see, what you get kind of a man. So I'm not the most polished speaker. If I was coaching you volleyball, I'd probably have a much more coherent, concise presentation. But I'm getting used to teaching this. This is new material that I haven't taught. I practiced it for years. I used to practice this parochial, rigid, formal, stiff Tai Chi that they call Tai Chi in the US. Trust me, I've been in China. It's not how they do it. It's not the right way to teach it, in my opinion. So if you're looking for just forms, you gotta probably go somewhere else. I'm more into principles and concepts and a way of moving using circles and spirals and the ideas of and the combinations and changes of water, the transformations of water. That's my thing. That's what water Tai Chi is about. That's the way I was taught it by Dr. Wang. And we got the writings and we've got video of Wang Zhonghong, who started this revolutionary movement back to the ancient principles of true Taoism and true Tai Chi. So that's what you're going to get. Thanks.